Okay.
How many kids?
Hmm?
How many kids?
I'm an uncle to 10.
Oh wow.
Oh, Baruch Hashem. Ad mea v'esrim.
Yeah, you just
Not
have
from all,
like-
not from one. But from like 3 or 4. So,
But still, when you're family gatherings, you have like a platoon of 10 children
yeah, I
surrounding
mean, that's crazy, but I have a family friend who was one of 16.
Okay.
20 years.
So we saw yesterday, there was rather challenging explanation of Es Mispar Yomecha Malay, which is the means by which someone can come to a state of a lack of Svias Rotzen, satisfaction, which is the means by which someone can maintain the love and fear that they worked hard at achieving by virtue of what the Rebbe told us before that. And it's just important when you read something as challenging as this. Right? We talked about it a little yesterday, but it's important to emphasize. First of all, you're not holding there. Okay, that doesn't mean you're a lowlife. Right? It means you're not holding there. What's the real challenge? Is to realize that that's what truth is, as opposed to try to figure out a way that that's not truth because I'm not there. And if I'm not there, then it can't be truth, because I don't want that to be what truth is, because then I might not ever get there, and then there's something wrong with it. No, truth is what truth is. Can I challenge myself with it? Yes, I can challenge myself with what the truth is. Right? Am I going to necessarily always live up to that? Hopefully, I'm trying to live up to that. But truth is truth. And to turn Yiddishkeit into something mediocre because I want to strive for mediocrity because it's easier is just not true. Right? Yiddishkeit is what it is. Right? And we are what we are. And what's really astounding is we can reach very, very serious levels of connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But it's based on what the Rebbe told us throughout this whole Maimer. Especially what we saw relative to Ritzonos, agendas. So this is a serious Maimer. There's no question about that. Wait, where's your copy? You had a copy. You don't have a copy? So take this. So that just means Yosef will show up. If I don't have any left, that means it'll be the day Yosef shows up. Say that. When the Rebbe says what the Rebbe told us yesterday, what does that mean? That we don't sleep? No, we sleep. To sleep. Right? Might it mean that, there's no staple in it. It was in the right order. There's just no staple. That's all. It's a booklet. Wait, it was a booklet. Wasn't a booklet?
Yeah.
It's just that didn't have a staple. Doesn't have a staple. We sleep. What if I find that I need some time to myself to just sort of sit and close my eyes and relax for a few minutes? That's fine, right? Is that taking time off? That's not taking time off if I'm doing it for the right reason. If I work so I can relax, so then the relaxation is a waste of time. If I'm relaxing so I can work, then the relaxation is of use. Right? We all go to sleep every night. Why do we go to sleep? Well, we can't function if we don't go to sleep. Okay, so it might be that I'm in a state where I can't function properly if I don't take some time to just let my mind rest and what's called in the world relax for a few minutes. Okay, fine. Good. Why am I doing that? Hopefully I'm doing that because I'm really interested in accomplishing whatever it is that I set out to accomplish today, because that's what the Kadosh Baruch Hu wants from me. And it's necessary for me to do this at this particular point in my life. Is this necessarily something that I think is absolutely necessary and is going to be necessary for the next 50 years? Maybe not. I don't know. This is a special treat, such a visit. What, they gave you time off, your family? You're allowed to? Okay. Time off for good behavior? Wow, okay, nice to see you. Right? This is what they call this a bonus. Right? So, we do things that aren't necessarily exactly and completely and totally and in a revealed way connected to what it is that we were sent here to do. right? The question is, why are we doing those things? If we're doing those things with the proper perspective, so then those things are let's learn this. When we do those things with the proper perspective, so then they're fine. Again, is it something I want? Is it where I want to be in 5 years? No, maybe I don't want to be there. I don't want to need this in 5 years. Right now, I need this, right? But why do I need it? I need it because it helps me accomplish what it is that I realize I'm really supposed to accomplish. So, and I'm not talking about exercise. Exercise is as important as sleep, right? But again, obviously that has to be done with the right perspective, right? Exercise can become an avodah zarah, right? Like if the person's more serious about their exercise than they are about davening shachris. And they go crazy with their exercise. You want to exercise, good, but it's like you weren't sent to Elam Hazeh to exercise. You exercise so you can accomplish what you have to accomplish in Elam Hazeh. It doesn't become an end unto itself, right? So if everything's in the proper perspective, so then we can live a life. You read this and you think, I can't live a normal life. That's not true. It's not true. Right? And anybody who's ever met any Hasidim realize that they're fairly normal people, right? Have conversations and talk to people and daven and learn and go shopping and do all sorts of things. Right? But what? Hopefully, right? There's a focus in what life's really all about, and what hopefully what I'm doing can have something to do with that ultimate purpose, as opposed to having God in one box and me in another box, and I do the God box when I have to do the God box, but most of the time I'm in the me box. Now I can bring God into my box because sometimes I like God in my box. It makes my box nicer. I like God in there. Okay. But we don't have to live there. We don't have to be that way. We can get past it. And that's what the Rebbe is challenging us to do. Right? But a person has to take what the Rebbe said to us. The reason I'm saying this is just so heavy what the Rebbe said to us yesterday. A person has to take it in a healthy way and in a proper way. Right? The Rebbe knows who he's talking to. Right? He's talking to us, and he says, "You can live your life this way if you put your mind to it. If you really want to do it, you can do it." Right? That's what this mimer is all about. But it's take hard work. Do I have to move myself out of the way? Yep. As long as I'm in the center of it all, it won't happen. If I move myself out of the way a little and let God be at the center, then amazing things happen in life. Well, is that easy to do? No, why not? Because I have a Nefesh Bahamis. My Nefesh Bahamis makes a lot of noise about me. Right? My Nefesh Bahamis, right, we've talked about this so many times. I'm speaking a language where the word I is always capitalized, no matter where it appears. Middle of a sentence, I is capitalized. You isn't, he isn't, she isn't, I is. Always capitalized. I is capitalized. That's actually proper English. Right? I is hungry is not proper English. Right? Can I just ask you a question is not proper English. Right? Every rental car experience in America. Can I just ask you a question, sir? Maybe you want to ask me a question instead and I'll give you an answer. I'd like to ask you a question. Okay. Where they get these people. Okay. But being a healthy person all takes a lot of work. Okay, say that, right? Because we got this Nefesh Bahamis in there, and he's a wacko. Okay. But he doesn't have to be a wacko. Because when we say a healthy person, who are we trying to get healthy? A Nefesh Bahamis. A Nefesh Bahamis should be into good things. A Nefesh Bahamis should want to serve God. Right? Does a Nefesh Bahamis want to sit down quietly and have a cup of tea and just close your eyes and rest for a while, right? I'm not talking about 5 hours. I'm talking about 15 minutes in the middle of the morning or something, and you'll get to a point where you might need an afternoon nap. I don't want to. Most people get to that point. They find it hard getting through the whole day successfully without some sort of little nap in the afternoon. Okay, say that. Is that a waste of time? No. Well, it can be. It depends, right? If it's the end all and be all of the day, so it's a waste of time. But if it's just to give energy so that we can finish off the day in a good way, so then it's just part of doing what you have to do, right? Rabbi Yochanan Zaka didn't go to sleep. He probably slept a lot less than we do, but he didn't go to sleep because he went to sleep. Right? But what did he say about himself? Hey, he didn't. He said, "Any a day is a derech malichin I see." Right? Any Adea. One of the pshatim in Chassidus is a beautiful pshat. When he says Any Adea Be'ez Derech Malichin, you see that Tzemach Tzedek says this, and it's shaykh to Basil Gani, which we just finished. Right? Any Adea, you got to a level Limayla Midas. Right? You got to a level beyond Das. Any Adea, and beyond Tam Das, like we learned in the 5th chapter in Basil Gani. And that's why I'm going to where I'm going. Right? It's a beautiful shot. But the Rebbe says different shot. I don't know because I've been so busy doing what a Kadosh Baruch Hu wants. I didn't have time to think about where I am. A mashal I once heard about this. Guy's running a store. He sells, I don't know, electronics, whatever. He comes to his store at 10 in the morning after he got up, went to mikveh, learned some chassidus, daven shachris, sat down, learned some nigla. He opens up his store at 10 in the morning. He's a good guy. Right, okay. And there's a line outside the store. Just, whoa. Okay. So he opens up the store. He tells the people in front of the line, just give me 3 minutes to set things up and I'll open up the store for everybody. Fine. So he locks the door again. He goes in. He sets up the computer quickly. He calls his assistant, says, make it here quickly because there's a whole line out the door. I don't know what's going on today, but there's a lot of people here. Fine. Okay. So then he opens up the door and people are coming in and they're just buying stuff. They're taking everything out. The shelves are getting empty. He's calling up another worker to come quickly because you got to take stuff off the shelves in the back and put them on the shelves in the front because people are buying everything. He's got the person who's usually in the office is sitting at a cash register because there's so many people coming and buying things and he's running out of stuff. So he calls up his main supplier and says, look, how quickly can you get here with a bunch of stuff? I've never seen anything like this. People are buying stuff. It's crazy what's going on in here. My shelves are emptying out. I'll get you whatever I can. Gets whatever he can. Finally ends up with nothing on the shelf. Fine. So there's still people at the door. So he runs to his next door neighbor and says, what do you got for me? He said, what do I got for you? I sell clothes. You sell electronics. He said, hey, give me whatever you got. There's all these people in my store. He said, fine. So he takes a whole load of clothes and he puts it on shelves. People buy the clothes. They're buying anything that's in the store. It's unbelievable. Okay, so now, usually what does he do? Usually he makes a cheshbon of the whole day's activity at 4 o'clock, right? And because it's a quiet time in the store, so he makes a cheshbon. He figures out, how much he bought, how much he sold, what he paid his supplier, what did he sell for, what profit did he make, what did he have to pay. So he makes a little daily cheshbon. Well, right now the store is full of people and they're busy buying stuff. He tells them all to leave and he makes his cheshbon. Of course not. That's ridiculous. Why is he making the cheshbon? He's making the cheshbon so he'll sell more stuff. He'll figure out what works, what's not working well. But right now everything's working, so he just keep selling. And this goes till about 8, 9 o'clock at night until finally the store closes. Fine. So you're going to close the store at some point, but he's just going to sell and sell and sell and sell and sell. As many as people are there, he's going to just keep selling stuff. He's not even selling electronics anymore. He's taking clothes from the guy next to him. This guy owns a little McCullough. He's selling cottage cheese on some shelves over there. Whatever he's got to put on the shelves, people are buying. Half the shelves have been sold. People bought the shelves. Okay. Well, that's Elam Hazeh. Right? So you're going to stop. Where am I holding? What am I doing? Right now you might say, oh, well, that's it helps me. Yeah, okay, but I mean, there's times for it and times not for it, right? I mean, there's times when it's sort of a waste of time because I'm busy doing something. Right? I'm in the middle of learning in the morning. I tell my charusa, no, I have to go do a cheshbon nefesh. What are you doing? Cheshbon nefesh. You're sitting and learning Torah with God. Why are you taking time off to go think about yourself? Sit down with your learning the charusa with God. You have a charusa there who's sitting in a chair, and in between you is God, and he's talking to both of you, because that's what learning Torah means, right? So we can be so busy doing good things that we don't have time to think about ourselves. That's what the Rebbe said here. That's what he means. He says that's what real life is about, right? Drive ourselves crazy? Chas v'shalom, chas v'shalom. We can't drive ourselves crazy. We have to know who we are, where we are, what we're holding. Okay, but that guy in the store, what's he going to do? Close his store at 4 o'clock. He usually closes at 4 o'clock. He's going to close at 4 o'clock. The place is going mishugah. Right? Just keep selling. Right? Because people ask when they see this, wait, does this mean the Rebbe is anti-cheshbon nefesh? Because the guy doesn't have time to think about where he is? Well, the purpose of thinking about where we are is not to think about ourselves, it's to think about how we can do what we do better. But if I'm so busy doing it, I might not have time to think about that right now. Right? Might be busy doing it. Right? Okay. So Now, it's true that I might also, as we said earlier, it might be that I need a little time off. This guy might be a little crazy in the situation that we just described for the guy to say, I need my afternoon nap. Could everybody please leave my store? That would be a little bizarre, right? I understand that. Why are you doing that? Okay, because today is a crazy day. Okay, so there's days that are special days. You don't have your afternoon nap or whatever it happens to be, or your afternoon in the gym. Right? Why? Well, because it's just a long Rambam today, and I don't have time to do the gym and Rambam. So which one loses? Hopefully the gym. Every day. But Rambam's more important than the gym. The only reason I'm in the gym is so I can learn Rambam with energy. So if there's a long Rambam, I don't have time to do so. That day, I guess I miss the gym. I don't miss Rambam. Mm-hmm. Remember Rav Yol once verbringed. We'll start Zion in a second. Rav Yol once verbringed about making a kviyas benefesh. It's very hard to do. A kviyas benefesh, establishing a reality in your soul. There's no such thing as going to sleep at night with the Rambam of that day not taken care of. No such thing. He verbringed for a long time about it. Everybody was sitting there. Okay. So this is very heavy. Now the Rebbe is going to lighten up a little. Baruch Hashem. Right? So the Rebbe says in Zion, Hine, Kashera Adam Makayim Etzivui. When a person fulfills the command, Loisa mishakela v'akara b'atzecha. Remember, we said, is this a command or is this a promise? Right? So now the Rebbe is learning it as a command. Don't be this way, as opposed to serve God and you won't be this way. That he does everything in his ability, that his service should be ba'ava v'yira mitim, right? True love and fear. Sheyesh lem kiyum, that they last. I mean, he does everything that the Rebbe talked about in the last 3-4 pages. He works very, very hard at it. Umisoich, and also misoich heder svius ratzon, without satisfaction. Again, not without simcha, without satisfaction, without that feeling that I've done enough. If Mashiach isn't here, we haven't done enough. That's existential. Azai meisifin umavtichin loy. Then the command. If I follow, if I heed the command, so then adarabah, I merit the promise. As mavtichin loy milamayla, they promise him from above. Loisir b'loshen avtacha, you will not be, as in the language of promise. Because again, you will not be. That means don't be, or you will not be. It can either be a command or a promise. So if I heed the command, so then I merit the promise. Mishakela v'akara b'atzecha. In other words, and this is brought in so many places, not just in Chassidus, b'chlal, that an investment in your relationship with the Eibishter never goes down; it only goes up. Right? It's a guaranteed investment. It might be hard work, but it's a guaranteed investment. That you always see fruits to those labors. Right? Might not see them right away. Might not even be aware of the fruits of the labor that we see. There might be that it's so subtle that we don't see it because it happens. It's moment by moment with us, right? Whereas if we saw ourselves once a year, so we'd be quite astounded. Wow, things have happened in a year. Okay, we also might not be noticing them because we're too busy doing what we're doing, like what the Rebbe says about Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai. Okay. Mm-hmm. And we talked about this relative to kavanah and davening. Right? If a person's in the middle of davening and he says, gee, I have good kavanah. No, you don't. Why are you thinking about yourself? You should be thinking about God. Right? Oh, I have such good kavanah now. That means I don't. Because I'm thinking about me. Oh, I'm davening well. That's like the soldier. Gee, I'm holding the gun well. What are you doing? Right? There's a guy shooting at you. Go shoot back. No, I'm really holding the gun. I don't want to shoot. If I shoot, I'll get the gun dirty. Right? It's like those teacups that are on the shelf. You're not allowed to use them because they'll get dirty. I think teacups are to drink tea out of. I mean, that's what they're for. Al piza yesh la'isif. Now the Rebbe gives another beer, and this beer will ease our pain a little. Hopefully it's not pain. Definitely challenging. Al piza yesh la'isif beer b'mashen emar. Es mispar yemech amaleh, the number of your days I will fill. Amaleh daika, I will fill. Right? First person. Shezeu inyan shaba milamayla dafka. This is something that comes from above specifically. Neisef alis beinus, in addition to the contemplation the adam of a person b'mispar yomim, in the number of days shenik savuloi, that have been apportioned to him, like we said earlier, right? That a person has to realize he has a limited time in Eilam Hazeh, and he should use that time auspiciously. Ubezeh gufa b'loshen noichach, and this itself, it's b'loshen noichach. It's first person. Ayadei shlishi medaber, by the narrator of the Torah. What's that? Who's that? Bechinas atzmus u'ma'asein of Baruch Hu. Right? The essence of the Eibishter himself, Shalamaylam Ishtalshlus, beyond levels of Ishtalshlus. Right? So I will fill, what does that mean? So the Rebbe explains. V'inyan b'zeh. Such a beautiful idea. Shegam yim yeshesh a pagam v'chisaron, even if there is a blemish and a lacking, b'mispar yomim, davedas adam, in the number of days of a person. In other words, what? Shahayu etzlo, there was by him, yomim, days, shebem loy miles shlichus, there were days he didn't fulfill his shlichus. There might have been things that he, days where he wasted a lot of time and didn't get things done. Or yafilu yomim shebem asa gam inyanim bilti ritzuyim, even days where he might have done things that are undesirable. It's not only that he didn't do positive things, he might have even done negative things. From the point of view, or from the reality of the third person speaking, meaning the narrator of the Torah, Anoichi, Atzmus, Shalamaylam Ishtalshalus, Shesham, there, in that place, in Etzem, in the place and the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, where the essence of your soul is rooted in the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in that place, Shesham lo shayachin in shel pagam, there's no blemish there. It's an essential state of reality. It's a state of essential reality where you are one with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Right? The mashal in Gashmis, it's not a perfect mashal, but the mashal in Gashmis is your DNA. Right? If your DNA is black hair and you dye your hair blonde, so it doesn't affect your DNA. It affects your revealed reality. It doesn't affect your essential reality. The DNA is still black hair. So for Yid, who's essentially connected to a Kadosh Baruch Hu, acts in such a way that's contrary to that down here in Eilam Hazeh, that doesn't affect their essential connection. It affects their revealed connection. Like we learned about Siligani at great length. But it doesn't affect their essential connection. Still essentially who they are. A Yid is a Yid. Yisrael shechata Yisrael, who Chazal said. A Jew that doesn't Aveira is still a Jew. Doesn't become a non-Jew by virtue of doing one Aveira. He's a Jew who did an Aveira. That means, what does that mean he's a Jew? That means he's still essentially connected to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Was he done? Was the image in Basi Lagani? He snipped the rope. Okay, so the rope connecting real you to conscious you has been affected, but conscious, real you is still who you are. So when that level is revealed, which is what this pasuk is talking about, is Mispar Yamecha Amale, I will fill. Atzmus says, I'll fill up. What's he filling up? Let's see. So even if we have a blemish in our life, and I think probably most of us here, there might be a couple people here who are perfect, but I think most of us are pretty keenly aware of the lack of perfection that we exhibit in our lives. Shesham lo shayachin shel pagam, there's no blemish. Mismale mitzpar yomim akatzuvle, the Eibishter fills up our lives, meaning those empty spaces. If we really try, we really do what it is that the Eibishter wants us to do, but it might be that there are moments where we fall, the Eibishter will fill up the empty spaces. This is amazing. Who? Atzmus. What will be revealed? That place in our relationship with the Eibishter where there are no empty spaces. He'll reveal that and fill in the empty spaces that we might have left in our lives when we don't do those things that we're ultimately sent here to do. Because every single one of us experiences moments like that where we lose the plot. Okay, and if we lose the plot, if our whole life is losing the plot, so then that's a pretty disastrous situation. If our life is all about trying to live the plot, we really do want to live what life is really supposed to be about. The Eibishter sent us here as his shaliach to reveal him in Eilam Hazeh. That's what life is about. There's all sorts of amazing things that get to happen in the context of that. I have to figure out how to make a living. I have to figure out how to buy a house, figure out how to buy avocados and make sure that they're ripe and eat them before they go bad. There's all sorts of things I have to do in life that are very, very sophisticated. Right? Okay. But in the context of what's that really all about? Why do you make a living? You make a living because you need a life. You can't live a life without making a living. Don't give up your life to make a living. The whole reason you're making a living is you have a life. So it's silly to sacrifice your life to make a living. And what's life? Life is elokus. Life is a relationship with the Eibishter. That relationship includes all sorts of other stuff, which is amazing. Your relationship with your wife is part of that. Your relationship with your children is part of that. Your relationship with your friends is part of that. Your relationship with yourself is part of that. Okay, but the all-encompassing light of it all is your relationship with the Eibishter. Because everything's him. Oh, this sounds good. It's all nice philosophy, but when it comes to real life, Rabbi, come on, you have to be practical. The Lubavitcher Rebbe thinks that's called practical. That's what's practical. Everything else is impractical. Why? Because it's not true. Right? There isn't an Eibishter so that we can have meaning in life. There's an Eibishter because there's an Eibishter. Just last night I read, I was doing these videos on letters of the Rebbe, right? So one of the letters is so interesting. English, they're all English letters. So the Rebbe writes to this person and talks about belief and faith, emun and bitachon, and says, emun and bitachon isn't opiate of the masses, right? We don't have, the Rebbe uses the word, a pain reliever. We don't believe in God as a pain reliever, right? Just makes our life, sort of nicer because, there's something there that gives balance to it all. And he says we believe in the Torah because it's true. There really is a God, and He really does take care of us. We don't have bitachon in the Eibishter because we'll feel better in difficult times. We have bitachon in the Eibishter because there's really an Eibishter there who wants to take care of us, but He wants us to trigger that through our bitachon. It's an amazing letter, right? We see what did the Rebbetzin say about her husband? The Rebbetzin was once asked to describe her husband, our Rebbe, and she said, "My man is a ma'amin. My husband is a believer." The Rebbe is a real believer. He's unbelievable. A Maimer Chazal statement in Gemara seems a little strange. Like it's hard to explain it literally. And everybody says, well, Meforshim, serious people, God-fearing people, we'll talk about it in a certain way. The Rebbe, just explain it. That's what it means. That's what the words say. That's what it means. And this is how you relate to it. It's amazing. Okay, so there's really an Eibishter. And if there's really an Eibishter, does that make it harder? Well, it makes it better. Because it's really true. Which means what the Rebbe is saying in this paragraph, which is so beautiful. After everything the Rebbe said, he just took our kishkas out in the last 2 or 3 classes if we were really connecting to what the Rebbe is saying here. It was like unbelievably challenging. It's just crazy. Okay, now what does the Rebbe say? Do your best at all that. And the Eibishter will fill in the empty spaces. You're going to try to fool the Eibishter? You're not going to fool the Eibishter. Mind. I remember RB Kaplan once said a beautiful thing. There's a halacha in Hilchas Mamanis, in financial matters. It's called ona'ah. Ona'ah means overcharging or underpaying, right? If you're a collector of something and someone has a stamp that's worth, $4 billion and you convince them that it's only worth 15, so that's called a na, and you're over in Israel, you have to give them the $4 billion, right? The sale's an invalid sale. So too, if you charged $4 billion for a stamp that's only worth $15, so then you have to give back the $4 billion and take back the stamp. Okay, that's called a na. But there's also what's called a nas devarim, which is fooling people with words. You're not allowed to walk into a store with no intention to buy and ask the price. Why? Well, because the person selling is either getting a commission or he owns the store. So one way or the other, he's very happy for you to buy. You are allowed to walk into the store and say, I have no intention to buy, but I'm interested in knowing how much this suit costs or these shoes cost. But you can't walk in pretending that you're going to buy when you have no intention to buy. That's called Einis Devarim. You're not allowed to fool people. You're not allowed to give a non-Jew meat and tell him it's kosher if it isn't. You can eat not kosher meat. What difference does it make? Because you're not allowed to fool people. You're not allowed to lie to people. Right? No. Oh. So Uri, I remember Uri used to have a birthday for pregnant every year. Maybe he still does, but I used to go to his birthday for pregnant every year, so I used to know about it. So he once said a beautiful idea. He said, the Gemara says, Ezu Chosid, who's a Chosid, someone who goes Lifnim Mishur Sedin, beyond the letter of the law. What's beyond the letter of the law? The letter of the law is you're not allowed to fool other people. What's beyond the letter of the law? You're not allowed to fool yourself. A person doesn't fool himself. Don't fool yourself. Don't fool yourself into thinking you're holier than you are, and don't fool yourself into thinking that you're not holy. And both of those are true. Why are you holy? Because you have a nefesh elokis. Why might you think you're holier than you are? Because you have a nefesh ba'amis, and you're into yourself, and you're all excited about your own holiness. Settle down. Right? Settle down. Your nefesh ba'amis isn't so holy yet. Can you get him there? Yeah. Why? Because there's a part of you that's really holy, but you're forgetting about that part because you're into yourself. So forget about that part. I'm not talking about you. I'm saying in general. Right? Forget about yourself. Right? Move aside a little bit and let God in, and then life is a whole different thing. And the Eibush is real. And so if we really try, really, honestly, without fooling anybody, we're not fooling God, that's for sure. We might fool ourselves, so don't fool ourselves either. Right? And we really try, and we really honestly put in the effort to have a relationship with the Eibush that's a real relationship, and it's not a function of being, accepted by this one, accepted by that one, or thought about this way by this person, or thought about this way. That has nothing to do with it. Right? We're doing it, why? Because God's real, and He gave you life, and life is about something very, very special. And we're doing our best to live that, even though we have this nefesh ba'amis that's a cracker jack, and he makes all this funny noise in our head. And if we do it, and we do it honestly, and we do it sincerely, so the mistakes we make, the Eibush will fill them in. That's what Rabbi just said, which is an amazing thing. You want to fool the Eibush there? You can't fool him. Right? You want to be real with him? Let's try. Hard for us. Being real is hard for us. But we can try. And when we try, so things happen. And then the Rebbe says such a beautiful thing. The Eibush, the days that are missing, so to speak, are filled in. The Eibush fills them in. More now. The Rebbe goes, even more than just filling them in. Even more than just filling in those days. I will fill that all the days become full days. And not only full days, illuminating days. This is the careful reading of the words of mispar yamecha. The word mispar means number in pshat, but what does the word mispar also mean? It means to shine. Evan sapir, a sapphire. Mispar miloshin hashamayim misaprim, that the heavens shine. Perish, the menaharim and menatzitzim, they shine, and they're like a diamond shining. Umiloshin evan sapir, shumiloshin sapirus ubihirus, light and clarity. So we do our best, and we have to be honest about that, right? Oh, I did my best. No, you didn't do your best. Do your best. Okay, I really did my best. I really tried. Okay, and I might have succeeded to a certain degree and maybe failed to a certain degree. But say the Eibush fills it up. And not only does the Eibush fill it up, he illuminates it so it's all bright and shining and beautiful. Amazing. Right? So at the end of it all, the Rebbe loosens the bonds a little so that it's it doesn't mean that we don't have to be serious. He just explains also the positive side of it. And this is also what it says, right? The rest of the pasuk, right? I will remove sickness from your midst. Again, that's atzmus, kishlishi medaber. So what's this machla that's being taken away from us? It's better warm. B'loshen neicha k'shlishi medaber, dehine hamachla shaleh nemar. What's that illness that's being talked about in the pasuk? So in pshat in the pasuk, it's just physical illness, right? But what is it? This whole pasuk is this incredible two psukim with the greatest lesson in serving God. So then, what's that? What's that in the nimis of it? What's this machla shaleh nemar vasiroisi? And this machla evidently is so serious that who is it that takes it away? Atzmus takes it away. He machla kazu. This is a machla. She yechayla liyos. that can even be Gam kasher v'avadetam es havaya lokeichem, when you serve God. V'gam, and also kasher berach es lachmacha u'meimecha, when he blesses your bread and your water. And we're going to see bread and water means gashmis, also means ruchnius. We're going to see that in a minute. What's that? The lachmacha u'meimecha, what's that in ruchnius, in spirituality? Kayal teresh b'chsav, teresh b'al peh. Lechem is teresh b'chsav, the basic basis of it all. Water, which makes things grow, that's teresh b'al peh. Oy, or Torah and mitzvahs. Again, the basis and that which expands. And this it says, serve the Eibishter, and he will bless your Torah, your mitzvahs, your Torah Shabbat, your Torah Shabbat Peh. Shaveda b'Torah and mitzvahs, that this person's avoid in Torah and mitzvahs, he mitzad habrocha d'shem avaya. This person's Torah and mitzvahs are blessed with incredible blessing from above. Shem avaya. Aye, but that same guy, what does it say? V'avadetam es havaya lokeichem. Serve the Eibishter. This guy, Reuven, is serving the Eibishter. And he reaches the level of ubeirach es lachma v'esmeimecha, and he has incredible bracha in his Torah and mitzvahs, because he's serving so sincerely. And yet still, at the end of the pasuk, what does it say about that guy? I'll take away a machla from you. What machla? He seems like a pretty healthy guy. No, even that guy has a machla, right? That has to be taken away, right? I mean, that's super pshat in the pasuk. Okay, what's that machla? The gam as even that person adayin yechola liyos machla. There could still be something that's not healthy. But tzarich liyos, and there has to be vasirosi machla. I will remove. Atzmus, ayidei shlishi medaber dafked. Atzmusi is baruch. The Eibishter himself will remove that. Binyan bezeh. What is this? The Rebbe says in the footnote, this is based on the Alter Rebbe in Torah, or shemachla shenemar kan. What's this machla? Machla stam. It doesn't say what illness it is. It's a regular illness, a generic illness. What's the ultimate generic illness? Here, shorish l'kol machlos, which is the source of all machlos. After we had a nice paragraph where the Rebbe made us feel like warm and fuzzy, now the Rebbe is going to challenge us again. Here, shorish l'kol machlos. What's that? V'in in the hergish atzmi. A person's sensitivity to himself. Shaba b'sibas chetei tzadas. Where does that come from? Chetei tzadas. That's what chetei tzadas was all about. How Chetei Tzadas happened, that the Rebbe is not going to deal with here, and that's obviously a difficulty. Well, we talked about the other day, there were Isaac Humler, quoted by the Mittler Rebbe, there wasn't a Rebbe. Okay, say that. By the Friedrich Rebbe. But that's not the issue here. The issue is, what did that Aveira bring about in reality? Hergish Atzmai. Adam and Chava, again, how they did an Aveira without this, not understood. Okay, but again, that's not our issue right now. Our issue now is, what did that Aveira bring about in the world? What reality came into being that wasn't there before? Hergish Atzmai, sense of self. They were living in a place without that experience, and that's why it says they were walking around without any clothes, veloyis be'shashu, and they weren't embarrassed, they weren't no self-conscious. Conscious of self, no self-consciousness. Embarrassment is being self-conscious, right? Okay, so they weren't self-conscious. Why? Well, there was no self. Obvious question, so how did they do an affair if there's no self? Great question. We're not going there, Baruch Hashem, because we only have 40 years. Right? We don't have enough time to figure that one out. But what did they bring into the world? Hergish Atzmai. That's the machla. Now, the Eibishter wants that in the world. How do we know? We've talked about this so often. When did this chait happen? This thing called chetei tzadas?
During creation.
Sixth day of creation, right? It's part of creation. It's not part of the history of the world. It's part of the creation of the world. When the Eibishter created us in a way that we were transcendent of having a sense of self, then the Eibishter brought about a situation through our own actions that we developed a sense of self. That's the one he wants. That's the person he wants at the end of it all. He wants the world that was brought into being after the Aveira, meaning the the perfectly imperfect world, and he wants those people who were brought about as a result of the Aveira. Those people who have a sense of self. Those people who have what you and I would call an average Bahamis. Hmm? Okay. Page 333, middle of the second paragraph, right by footnote 83. Va'inyan bezeh, shemachla shenemar kan machla stam. Hi hashorish l'kol hamachles. It's the source of our machles. Va'inyan de hergish atzmei. The fact that a person is aware of themselves. Shaba besibas chet eitzadas. Where does that come from? Chet eitzadas. Ki yadua, as is known. We saw this in Bas Ligani. I say, before the chet, there wasn't a reality of hergish atzmai, a sense of self. There brings exactly the same pasuk that the Rebbe brought in Oisei and Basi Lagani. They were not having, they didn't have clothes on. They weren't embarrassed. Immediately after the chet, what did they do? They covered themselves up because they became embarrassed. Brought about this experience of self. She saw that it was good to eat. In other words, she saw mitzad her own existence. This is even before, which is interesting. She saw mitzad her own existence that this is good. The Eibishter said something else. Seder, but she wasn't aware of the Eibishter at that moment. She was aware of herself at that moment. And so she made this decision based on her experience of self as opposed to her experience of godliness. And that means that even if a person is serving the Eibishter and he has incredible bracha in his Torah and mitzvahs, which is what that says, that the Rebbe just told us, that's what that part of the pasuk means. There could be, not only could there be, there is inyan machla. Person could still have this existential lack of health that every single human being has. Shu in hergish atzmai. Kevin shechet eitzadas pa'al al kulam. Chet eitzadas affected everybody. Gam al tzadikim, even tzadikim. But gam al tzadikim gemurim, even complete tzadikim. It's an amazing thing to say. Ukemaimer Chazal, very famous medrash. Gemara in Shabbos says that Dalid mesu mi etye shel nachash. 4 people died because of the advice of the nachash. Right? And the Gemara there lists 4 people. Yishai, Kalev ben David, not Kalev ben Yefuna, Kalev with an Aleph ben David. Amram, and one other, I forget. 4 people. 4 people who were such tzaddikim that the only reason they died was because of Chet Eitzadas, which instituted death in the world. They, mitzad themselves, had completely transcended that reality. But they still died because Chet Eitzadas brought that reality into the world. But they mitzad themselves were transcendent of that reality. So that's what it means. They died because of the advice of the Nachash. The only reason they died was because of what the Nachash brought about in Gan Eden. Binyamin, the other, the 4th. Binyamin ben Yaakov. Those are the 4 mentioned. Which is really very interesting because each of them is one step removed from Mashiach. Just so interesting. Yishai, the father of Mashiach. Kalev ben David is the son of Mashiach. Binyamin is the brother of Mashiach ben Yosef. And Amram is the father of Mashiach, Moshe, Geil Rishon and Geil Achron. They're one step away from that reality. So I've never seen anybody explain it. It's just so interesting about who those 4 people are. I think it was the Ramak who said, this is just me being mibulbal, confused, so I apologize. But the Ramak and the Arizal were together in Sfas. The Ramak was older. Did the Ramak pass away first or the Rizal passed away first? I don't remember. It's easy enough to look up, which I will after class, but I'm not going to look it up now. So I believe the Rizal passed away first, but I'm not sure. Rizal passed away very young. At the Levaya, so the Ramak said about the Rizal, or if it was the other way around, I apologize, that he quoted this Gemara and said, and he's the same. Right? Said about, either the Rizal said about the Ramak or the Ramak said about the Rizal, he's a fifth. The only reason that he's not in Elam Hazeh is because the Eibishter decreed death in Elam Hazeh. Other than that, he's completely beyond that. I don't remember who's, okay, I apologize. It doesn't matter who passed away first. One said about the other. The Ramak said about the Rizal said about the Ramak. Again, I apologize. I should know, but I don't.
Oh, right.
Well,
So what does that mean? Does that have any implications for like Tanakh or Eliyahu, like those people that said they didn't die?
there's also people who didn't die. Yaakov Avinu lemeis, Moshe Rabbeinu lemeis. Shasibas misasam, the reason of the passing of these people, Eina Ella Beglal, look at that last page, guys. Chetei Tzadas, which means, I guess, Sunday. What are we holding here? I didn't put out my watch. Could be 10 o'clock, and I wouldn't know. No, I do know, actually. It says 46 minutes. So that, I know I'm safe here. It says here 46 minutes, 39 seconds, 40 seconds. There's 9 people watching right now. Who are these 9 people? It's not Amnam and Sweet. I know that. It's amazing. Oh, one of them just got embarrassed and left. Okay. Right? The reason they passed away was Chetei Tzadas. V'lochen gam b'tzadikim gemurim. Shayach inyan dehergesh atzma. Even tzadikim gemurim are aware of themselves. What does that mean? That they're a big yesh and they think about themselves all day? No, but are they aware of the fact that they exist as a created being? Yes, they're aware of the fact that they exist as a created being. Right? Can they transcend that awareness sometimes? Yes, they actually do, right? Aliyas and the Sham of Tzaddikim, where they transcend their physical reality and are found somewhere else. So in their conscious reality is not where their physical body is. Okay, that's called Aliyas and the Sham, fine, so they can do that. Right, but when they're in Elam Hazeh, are they aware of the fact that they have feet and hands? Yes, they're aware of the fact that they have feet and hands, right? They're aware of their own existence. Ukiyadua, they transcend it in an incredibly powerful way. That's why their avodah is so impressive, because they're not malachim, they're not angels, they're people. But they're people who are just on an astounding level of holiness. It's absolutely incredible. So Moshe Rabbeinu, so when the Torah describes Moshe as an Ish Elokim, so Chazal say, right, that he's an Ish Elokim. From halfway up he's Elokim, from halfway down he's Ish. So Moshe Rabbeinu is obviously something extremely special. Right? Chazal said that. So deal with it. Right? Don't get nervous. Try to understand it. Right? Okay. That being said, Moshe Rabbeinu is still a person who is aware of the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu is walking around in Elam Hazeh taking care of 3 million Yidden, trying to keep them in line. Ki yadua shafilu tzadik gomer oved Hashem b'yir v'ava v'tanugim. Ain't no batal b'metzias lagamre. It's not that he's completely batal b'metzias. He walks around in Elam Hazeh. He's batal b'metzias mitzad his conscious understanding of what life's about and his conscious understanding of self, that self is simply an expression of godly reality and not his own personal reality, but he still is aware of the fact that he exists. Right? And is affected by physical reality to a certain degree, in a different way than you and I are, but he's still affected, right? How many times have we talked about the fact that Rabbi Groner said that on many days after dollars, they would put the Rebbe's right wrist in ice because it was so swollen from going like that for 5 hours? Okay, so there's a wrist there, right? What's the Rebbe not thinking about when he's doing this? His wrist. What is he thinking about? The person there, right? Okay. but there's a wrist. Right? So it's not thinking about his feet. We know the Rebbe had issues with his feet, whatever, his feet were sore. Okay, he's never thought about it seems. But the Rebbe used to walk on the back of his shoe. He didn't put his foot in the shoe. The back was stepped on, was down. In the old shoes that disappeared when Russia fell, those shoes. Ein batel b'mesis legamre elo hu davar b'fnei atzmai. Yara avaya v'oyavah. Yesh mi she'oyev. There is one who loves. Now, Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't fit into all of this the same way everybody else does. In a completely different way. But even Moshe Rabbeinu still has an existence in Elam Hazah. And doesn't reach a state of conscious connection to a Kadosh Baruch Hu like his neshama was before it descended below, because there are other things going on. If that's the way it is by tzaddikim, all the more so beinonim, right, are aware of themselves, and those that are below. Certainly they are aware of that. So now, how does that disappear? That disappears. It can disappear. And there are people in whom it disappears. They're called tzaddikim gemurim. What happens? The Eibishter takes it away. The tzaddik mitzad himself. He's a metzias. He's a metzias that's bottled, but he's not bottled to the extent that he doesn't exist in Elam Hazeh. He's here. What does the Eibishter take away from him? Any sense of self. Right? Taking away this sense of self, the hergish atzmai, this can't be al yedei avedas ha'adam b'keich atzma, through the service of a person in his own strength. Why? Because we are what we are existentially. Kim al yedei, what is it that can take that away from a person? Drawing down an incredibly powerful level of godly reality. While Zen Nemar, and about this it says, Vasiresi Daika. About this it says, I will remove the Lashon Nechach. Shekai alatzmas umaus ein so baruch hu kanal. So relative to tzaddikim gemurim, so what happens? The Eibishter takes it away. Can the person take it away mitzad themselves? No. Right? Just like Nevuah, a person can't experience Nevuah by themselves. They prepare themselves, and if the Eibishter decides that he's going to give them Nevuah, right? We learned this in Basi Lagani also, I say, right? What's the Lashon of the Rambam? Right? That Yesedi Adas, one of the foundations of the religion is Shekadosh Baruch Hu Hashem min nabeh b'nei Adam, that the Eibishter causes Nevuah by people. In other words, I can't become a Navi. The Eibishter can give me Nevuah. Right? I can do everything necessary to become a person for whom that reality is, I'm not like I'm saying, in general, right? That for whom that reality is reasonable. Okay, but ultimately, who decides? The Eibishter decides. Either the Eibishter will cause Nevuah to fall on that person or not. We saw that in the 5th chapter in Basi Lagan. Right? So to this, right? The person will do everything they can in order to somehow limit to the extent that they can hergish atzmei, right? So Hasidim do their best not to talk about themselves, right? Why? Because it just shows that everything I hear I have to relate it to myself. No, you don't. Relate it to God. It doesn't have to be about you. It's about God, right? Okay. Some people hear a story and they have a hard time relating to the story because they find it difficult to live up to that. Well, the story's not about you. It's about Mendel Futterfaus. Of course you have a hard time living up. It's not about you. You're not the guy in the story. So yeah, I understand. You might have a hard time living up to that. Oh, but I can't relate to that story. Well, you can't relate to that story. Well, I just don't think it's relevant to me. It wasn't about you. It was about him. But what is it relative to? God. That it's relevant to. For sure. Right? Because how did he get to be Rav Mendel? Because he took his life seriously and he took himself a little less seriously. Right? The more I take myself seriously, the less I take my life seriously, because I will waste huge chunks of it to pamper self. Right? The more I take life seriously, the less I'll take myself seriously, because I'll be very, very involved in making sure that life is being served well, and that I'm just the vehicle to make that happen. Right? I can spend so much time wasting my life taking care of myself. Right? And I don't mean taking care of myself in those things that have to happen. You have to bathe, and you have to sleep, and you have to eat, and and you have to exercise, right? Exercise is a perfect example of the difference between Chochmah and Bina and Das. Right? Because I think everybody understands Al Pi Chochmah and Bina, and that exercise is a good idea. Do I exercise? Oh, that's a separate question. Did I internalize that understanding to the extent that I actually exercise? Oh, can we please not get personal? But do I understand intellectually that exercise is a good thing? Well, we all understand exercise is a good thing. It's just a question whether I do it or not. That's a separate issue. That's called das, internalizing it. Right? Okay. So to Elokus, right? Not everybody understands Elokus is a good idea, but hopefully everybody sitting around the table understands Elokus is a good idea. Okay, so how much have I internalized that? Am I living that? Okay, this is not show and tell. But that's what life is about. Okay. We finished the mimer. I have to read a few more lines, but it's just a wrap up. We finished the mimer. Right? But right? What do Chassidim say when they finish a mimer? I finished the mimer, did the mimer finish me? That's a separate question. This mimer is right? I told you, a student who walked around with this mimer in his pocket. I saw him 10 years later. He had a beaten up copy of this mimer in his pocket. This is the mimer that he just kochs in. Maybe to this day, I don't know. He's still around. Good guy, bunch of kids. All these things, it's all brought everything we're talking about in Ruchnius, because we took this whole pasuk, took it up into Ruchnius, and now in 5 lines, I was going to bring it down into Gashmius. Because we, in all fairness, the first page of the Maimer was all the Gashmius up, just simple shot in the pasuk. Hein b'negei l'mazena ravicha, both regarding sustenance. Regarding this, it says, "I'll bless your bread and your waters." Pashtus, that you'll have a lot of gashmias, that you'll be able to make a living, so that you can worry about more important things than worrying about how you're going to pay off the debt that you're in. Also regarding health, hopefully you'll be healthy. So you don't have to worry. Just yesterday, another letter. It was really interesting. The Rebbe was talking to this woman about emunah and bitachon, and all of a sudden, at the end of the letter, the Rebbe said, in order to have emunah and bitachon, you have to be besimcha. In order to be besimcha, you have to be healthy, because if you're not healthy, it's hard to be besimcha. So interesting. But mamish out of nowhere, and I don't see the whole letter. I just see little pieces of it. Whoever wrote the thing up, right? But at the end of the letter, that's what Rebbe talks about. And it talks about health. You have to be healthy. Now they're really interesting at the end. Wait, Tzvi, before you leave on time, right? Then the Rebbe says, and in order to be healthy, you should be very makpid on the kashrus of the food you eat and the things you drink. Oh, I drink this healthy juice that I get in a special store. Does it have a hechsher? No, but it's very healthy. No, it isn't. It doesn't have a hechsher. It's not healthy. It's not good for you. Right? Okay, Tzvi. Dismissed. I remove sickness from your mitzvah. Umeisif, and it adds, es mispa yemecha maleh. The number of your days I will fill. Hein b'nagei labani, both regarding children. I'm sorry, that's health. V'hein b'nagei labani, and also relative to children. Shal zen nemer leishim mishakela v'kal b'artzech, right? Because what was this? Bani chayim ezayne, the 3 brachas in Gashmias, children, health, and a livelihood. That's what there is in Gashmias, in the world. So at the beginning of the Maimer, the Rebbe explained how this pasuk is saying, serve the Eibishter and you'll have bracha in Bani Chayim Ezayne. That's what this pasuk says. Oh, so now we're going back to that. After all of the Ruchnias, explaining all of this in Ruchnias, said, and you know what? This will also express itself in Gashmias. Right? And all of this serves as a preparation So we skipped the line. Vein b'nagei laboni shal zeh namar leisha mishakela v'kar lebartzecho. V'chol zeh nasa achana le'inyan knisas aretz. And all of this is a preparation for entering Eretz Yisrael, which is what the next psukim talk about. Shal zeh medu b'hemshech ksuvim is what's talked about in the continuation of the psukim. Entering Eretz Yisrael, ultimately, in those days, the way they entered, in our days with Mashiach. Kain ti'alanu should be our situation. B'imheir b'yameinu, quickly in our days. Ayidei Mashiach tzidkeinu, through Mashiach. Okay, so Monday we will do review. All right, Monday you guys will go over the what we learned in the Mimer, and Sunday. Say Sunday. And Monday, so we'll start a new Mimer. I probably something Purim connected, just I don't know exactly, I'm not sure exactly what yet. Baruch Hashem, there are options. Now, I was going to do, but I see that it's on the Bima, so maybe someone's doing it. The Sicha of Kam Rava V'Shakte L'Rav Zera. That Sicha, everybody's learned or no one's learned? You learned it. It was on the Bima. Did someone just put it on the Bima because they thought it was a good idea that people should see it on the Bima?
No, the Shiach teaches it in the afternoon.
Okay. So then I won't do that. Right? No, I mean, if some of you are learning that, then you're learning it. That's why I asked, because it's something that people learn. Right? Is it a good thing to learn? It's amazing to learn. Right? So we'll forbring about it. We won't learn it inside. But it's very important. It is an important thing to learn because it teaches you what it means to drink l'chaim on Purim. Is there a gezeira on Purim of 4 l'chaims? Yes. The Rebbe's gezeira of 4 l'chaim, so anybody under 40 applies to Purim. So that's straight from Rabbi Groner's mouth. We asked Rabbi Groner, we were all over 40, so none of us were nagei b'davar. But we asked him also the intellectual information as opposed to the personal experience. And he said yes, which means on Purim. Now, whatever during the day. I mean, I don't know how it's going to work this way. Generally, what happens is either Gemara shiur or Siddur shiur go to the teachers' houses for Purim Suda. Okay? So when they make that decision, I will. Some people like both. Okay, so if you are in my class and you're coming to my house, the only thing I ask is you actually come. No, because some people end up, I ended up here and I didn't leave. My wife made food. If you say you're coming, you have to come. You don't want to come, it's fine, that's not a problem. But if you say you're coming, you have to show up because my wife made food for you. So it's meshul correct to show up. Because it's happened, we live farther away than, most people are within walking distance, which means you can drink l'chaims and make it to their house easily, and you're not stuck in traffic. We live a bus ride or a train ride away. The easiest way, honestly, to get to our house is to take a train. And after the train, it's a 25-minute walk, but on Purim, it's a fun walk.